Let's be real, folks. Power and money, they go together like politicians and empty promises. In today's world, the lines between economic and political power are blurrier than ever. From Washington to Mumbai, Beijing to Moscow, it's a global power struggle. And guess what? We're all caught in the middle. On one side, we've got ultra-right capitalism, where billionaires throw their weight around like it's a CrossFit competition. Think corporate lobbying, campaign donations and media empires shaping public opinion. It's a system where the rich get richer and the rest of us, we're just trying to keep up. Then there's China, playing a different game altogether. State-led capitalism, they call it. The government holds the reins, steering the economy with an iron fist. They've lifted millions out of poverty, sure, but at what cost? Freedom of speech, human rights? Yeah, not so much. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into this global power struggle. We'll expose the players, the tactics, and the consequences, because in this Game of Thrones, the stakes couldn't be higher. Let's talk about ultra-right capitalist countries like the United States and India. Here, billionaires are basically playing real-life Monopoly, except they're not using play money. They've got a whole playbook of tricks to get their way. First up, lobbying. Imagine an army of well-dressed, highly paid folks whispering in politicians' ears. That's lobbying in a nutshell. They're pushing for policies that benefit their billionaire bosses, even if it means screwing over the rest of us. Then there are campaign donations. In the United States, it's basically legal bribery. Billionaires pour money into political campaigns and surprise, surprise, the politicians they support magically agree with their views. Talk about a rigged game. And let's not forget about the media. Billionaires own major news outlets, shaping the narrative and influencing public opinion. They control what we see, what we hear, and ultimately what we think. It's like having a billionaire whispering sweet nothings into your ear, except it's not sweet and it's definitely not nothing. These tactics might seem subtle, but their impact is anything but. They're tilting the playing field in favor of the ultra-wealthy, leaving the rest of us struggling to keep up. So, what happens when billionaires call the shots? Spoiler alert, it's not pretty. Inequality skyrockets as the rich get richer and the poor get left behind. The gap between the haves and the have-nots widens into a chasm, fueling resentment and social unrest. Think about it. When people see their basic needs ignored while the ultra-wealthy hoard obscene amounts of wealth, they get angry. They take to the streets demanding change. From the streets of Delhi to the heartland of America, we've seen this simmering anger boil over. But here's the real kicker. This billionaire influence isn't just bad for our wallets, it's eroding the very foundations of democracy. When money equals power, the voices of ordinary citizens are drowned out. Politicians become puppets for the highest bidders, and the needs of the many are sacrificed at the altar of the few. It's a vicious cycle. Inequality breeds unrest, which in turn fuels authoritarian tendencies. Those in power, backed by their billionaire buddies, tighten their grip, further eroding democratic institutions. It's a slippery slope, and we're already sliding down it. Now let's turn our attention to the East, where China's doing its own thing. Forget billionaires pulling strings from the shadows. In China, the government is the puppet master, calling all the shots. It's state-led capitalism on steroids. They've poured billions into infrastructure, technology, and education, transforming China into an economic powerhouse. And they've made some impressive strides in social development, lifting millions out of poverty and investing heavily in renewable energy. On the surface, it seems like a success story, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. This rapid development has come at a cost. Freedom of speech is practically non-existent. Dissent is silenced swiftly and ruthlessly, and let's not even get started on the human rights situation. China's model is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's brought about remarkable economic growth and social progress. On the other, it's done so at the expense of individual liberties and democratic values. It's a trade-off that many in the West find deeply unsettling. Section 5, two sides of the same coin: centralized control versus billionaire influence. So we've got two models of power ultra-right capitalism with billionaires pulling the strings, and China's state-led system where the government calls the shots. They might seem like polar opposites, but are they really all that different? In both systems, power is concentrated in the hands of a select few. In the US and India, it's the billionaires. In China, it's the Communist Party elite. Both use their power to shape the economy, influence policy, and control the narrative. The difference lies in the methods. Billionaires in ultra-right capitalist countries use their wealth to influence politicians, manipulate public opinion, and rig the system in their favor. In China, the government directly controls the levers of power, suppressing dissent and enforcing conformity. It's a classic case of meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Whether it's a handful of billionaires or a powerful elite within the Communist Party, the end result is the same. A system that benefits those at the top at the expense of everyone else. Section 6, the China question, a beacon of hope or a cautionary tale. Now, the big question is, can China's model offer a viable alternative to the West's faltering systems? Some argue that China's focus on long-term planning, its ability to make tough decisions quickly, and its dedication to national development are exactly what the world needs. They point to China's incredible progress in poverty reduction, its massive investments in green technology, and its growing global influence as proof that their model works. They argue that the West, bogged down by partisan gridlock and short-term thinking, could learn a thing or two from China's approach. But let's not kid ourselves. China's model comes with a hefty price tag: the suppression of individual liberties, the absence of democratic accountability, and the stifling of dissent. It's a trade-off that many find unacceptable. The truth is, there are no easy answers. China's model presents a complex dilemma, a mix of undeniable achievements and deeply troubling realities. It's a cautionary tale, a reminder that progress often comes at a cost, and that the pursuit of economic prosperity should never come at the expense of fundamental freedoms. Section 7. Finding the balance. Can efficient governance coexist with democratic ideals? So where do we go from here? Are we doomed to choose between two flawed systems? One that prioritizes individual freedom at the expense of equality, and another that prioritizes collective good at the expense of individual liberty? The answer, my friends, is a resounding no. We need to think bigger, bolder. We need to imagine a world where efficient governance and democratic ideals can coexist, where economic prosperity goes hand in hand with social justice. It's about finding that sweet spot, that delicate balance between centralized planning and individual freedom. We can learn from China's long-term vision and its ability to mobilize resources while upholding the democratic values that are fundamental to a just and equitable society. It won't be easy. It will require a fundamental shift in our thinking, a willingness to challenge the status quo, and a commitment to working together to build a better future. But it's a challenge we must embrace if we hope to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Section 8, the perils of ignoring history, lessons from the past, challenges for the future. As we navigate this complex landscape, it's crucial to remember the lessons of history. We've seen what happens when power becomes too concentrated, whether it's in the hands of a ruling elite, a wealthy oligarchy, or a single all-powerful leader. From the Roman Empire to the fall of the Soviet Union, history is littered with cautionary tales of unchecked power. Time and again, we see that absolute power corrupts absolutely. The challenges we face today, from climate change to global inequality, require global solutions. But these solutions must be rooted in democratic principles, transparency, and accountability. We cannot simply trade one form of authoritarianism for another. The future we build must be one where power is shared, where voices are heard, and where everyone has a stake in the game. It's a future worth fighting for, and it's a future we can build together. Section 9, a new social contract towards a more equitable and sustainable world. So, where do we go from here? How do we create a future that works for everyone, not just the privileged few? It's time for a new social contract, a fundamental reimagining of the relationship between citizens, governments, and corporations. This new social contract must be built on the principles of fairness, justice, and sustainability. It must prioritize the well-being of both people and planet, recognizing that our fates are inextricably intertwined. We need to rethink our economic systems, moving away from the relentless pursuit of profit at all costs and towards a more equitable distribution of resources. We need to invest in education, healthcare, and social safety nets, ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential. And most importantly, we need to reclaim our democracies from the grip of special interests and wealthy elites. We need to demand transparency, accountability, and a government that truly represents the will of the people. The future is not something that happens to us, it's something we create together. Let's build a future worthy of our children and grandchildren, a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.